Hey, hello, my name is John. This is the Great Pumpkin, and you just happened to stop by while doing a complete 100% nut and bolt restoration on 1968 Firebird in a two-car garage, known as the Vinyl Village Garage or the Firebird Restoration Station. Now, you've been following us from the very beginning. You know what's going on. You know where I'm at. But if not, get you up to speed. Well, we've got this whole car, getting ready to paint it, getting ready to do the jamming here. We're going to paint the door jamb and the inside edges of the doors here so I can hang them back on the car to paint this car as an assembly. But before we get into that, need to do a little bit of seam sealing. Now, there's a lot of opinions on the seam sealing. There's different types of material, 2-part, 1-part, polyurethane, I think some bubblegum flavor. I have no idea. There's so many different kinds and so many different opinions. So do as you want with the information. The right way, the wrong way, VVG way, and then probably how I end up doing it might be totally different than you've ever seen. I see seam sealer as a pro and a con. I don't use it nearly as much as the factory did. Now, I don't also drive these cars in the crappy weather. And I also like to think that I've sealed them up a little better too, so I don't have to worry about it. But there is a time and a place for seam sealer in my mind, and I'm going to share that with you when, where, and how we use that. And we're going to start off here. I'll show you here in the door jambs, and then I'll show you here on these doors too. Okay, when it gets to the door jambs, the areas of concern, we're going to do this strip down here between the rocker panel and the quarter. We're going to put just a bead right through that and seal that seam completely. Then we're going to put in here just enough, not enough that you're going to see it when it's all done. We're just going to fill in the crack, because what I don't want is water getting in between these panels and then leaving a rust stain, because the water is going to have to drain out of here. It's going to get in here no matter what, because the quarter glass is here, water is going to get in. It's going to want to naturally come out here. And if you've got, of course, we know this is original panel, there's rust in here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I will guarantee if I cut this out, there is some kind of rust forming inside here. So you put some water on that and let it run down. I'm going to have rust stains coming across my paint. So I want to literally just put just enough seam sealer to fill in these cracks, and that's it. I don't like the looks of this stuff. I don't like how it sticks to the car. Like I said, I'm going to use just enough to fill in the seam so I don't have any rust stains forming on my car. I'm not worried about moisture going this way and back up. It just doesn't happen. It's going to be coming from the inside out. So we're going to do that seam like that, and we're going to do the same here to the front seam. We're going to fill it in just the same. Now, these are the factory spot welds. They cleaned up pretty good, but there's just that slight gap between the panels. Then I'll probably fill in that void there with a seam sealer. That's all the more we're going to do on the door jamb itself on the car body. Now, what I have here behind me here are both the door, driver's side and passenger side. We're going to do the whole door edge here. Same thing. This is the pinch where they pinch as they're putting the skin on. These are the factory skins. They're actually in pretty decent shape. And I'm going to put just enough seam sealer just to fill in that void around the door. And I'll probably fill in these corners just the same. So I don't get carried away with it. I don't like large amounts. Factory now, I think standard is a big fat bead. Then you level off the corners. But I don't like the looks of it. I like the look of the pinch weld here. Keep it clean. Same idea. I don't want water getting in here, festering, and coming out and causing a stain. Biggest problem with these doors are we have drains for water, but let's be honest, that drain, if you're looking at this thing on the horizontal, that drain is higher than the bottom of the pinch weld. So water collects in this bottom trough here, and I don't want it to cause any problems. I'll probably, once I get everything all said and done, inside of these doors, I'll spray some cavity wax like that to help really get down inside between the door pan, the door shell, and the actual door skin. Then same thing all around the back here. So I'm going to work on getting the seam sealer. I'm going to use a 1-part, just put it in the caulking gun, and just put a tiny, tiny bead, run it real tight with my finger, and wipe off the excess. Now here's the part where it becomes kind of a question. You scratch your head which kind you want to use. This is just some stuff I picked up from a local auto body supply store. It's a single, no 2-part mix. Just put it in your caulking gun and run it out, and run your bead where you need it. I'm just going to cut the tip and run a really small bead, then work it through into place. So this is just what I'm going to use, but if you go down that rabbit hole checking all the different kinds, flavors, shapes, colors, and everything, you're going to be left scratching your head. So I just kind of guess and use this. Now, again, like I said, there's a lot of opinions on this stuff. This is just what I'm going to use. I like it because it's gray. The other thing about seam sealers, you're really, same thing, read the directions, go down that rabbit hole a little bit, but most of the time you do not put this stuff over bare metal. You prime the entire surface first, then come back and put your seam sealer, and then you put your top coat over top of this stuff. So it's probably worth reading the directions just a little bit. But for the most part, I don't think I've ever seen any really stuff put over bare steel, at least the stuff that I've ever found. So I'm going to get the tip popped on here. We'll go ahead and start back here in the back corner. All right, the thing about a seam sealer is it's a messy job, so keep a shop towel handy. But what I'm going to do is take a little tape about 1/8 inch away from the gap. I just to help control where this stuff goes. Because the goal is to keep it clean and simple. That way you can't really see it when it's done. Or at least an abundance of it. And of course, this is probably the crappiest tape I've ever bought in my entire life. So this is the perfect use for it right here. Don't buy this stuff. I think I got it from Menards. It doesn't work. Masking tape is not cheap for the good stuff, but the last thing you want is overspray in some other areas. So don't cheap out like I did here on this situation. But I think for this purpose, this will be okay. But if I really wanted a clean tape line or something like that, this green stuff from Menards, not the way to go. Okay, now, I guess as you can see, I've only have just this little tiny seam now that I'm going to put a little seam sealer in, tuck it in there nice and tight, and then I'll clean up my mess. I just want just enough to get underneath that metal, and I'll try to push it up underneath there. I mean, in case water does get in there, and it will, it doesn't leave me a rust stain down my rocker panel. And no, it doesn't. Just ask me how, right? All right. There we go. All right. Now I'll pull this off. In this case, this is where you keep a shop towel around, but look at that, super clean and tight, and that'll work out really good. We'll do the same thing to the front, the other side, and we'll do the same thing down this body seam down the side. I suppose I should probably get you up a little closer, you can see what that looks like, but come on, focus. Now you can see it's all tucked up in that seam nice and tight. When it's all painted, it should look pretty good. Now I've got you zoomed in pretty close, but you can no longer see any way to get any moisture between this panel and the rocker panel. That gap has been closed up, so that's what it looks up nice up and close. Then we're going to jump back here and do the exact same thing here for the seam between the quarter panel and the rocker panel. Get it set up, tape on both sides, and go ahead and fill it in. Okay, finally found a good use for this green tape. Feeling pretty good about today because it's going to go away. I hate the idea that I bought several rolls of this stuff with the intention of using it, but it doesn't stick worth a crap. So it does okay for straight lines down the side of the car, for sanding, but I wouldn't trust it for doing any kind of critical painting or a nice clean paint line when it comes to automotive. Now maybe household stuff, it's okay. I did buy it from Menards, so I guess you get what you pay for in this situation. So there we go, taped off. Now again, I said this may not work for everybody. Maybe you got a way that works for you and you love it. Stick with it, keep using it. This is just how I've done it. I get nice clean lines and I get my seams filled in. That's the thing to me. I need to get just enough goo in the crevices to, you know, close the gap on the seams, and this controls where the, I guess you say, the goop goes. All right. Oop. I might need a little more there. A little thin. Did you guys get the idea? Now, you do the same thing to all the seams in the car, inside the trunk, around the wheel wells. I don't use all the same spots the factory did. The water, it holds water out as well as it holds it in. I have a convertible that got wet one time and it took forever to dry out, but I had seam sealed the heck out of everything, which looked beautiful, but the car never dried out. It held the water in, which I'm not sure which is worse. So in this case here, I don't want rust stains coming down the side of the car. It's really the biggest thing I'm trying to combat. So that should do. Now, the other thing you can do, like this edge, just a little bit rough, take some lacquer thinner and just lightly run your finger across it. It'll take that edge right off it. Now, this is the front seam. It's pretty much the same as what we did back here on the back, but we're going to fill in this void a little bit heavier between the bottom of the door jamb and the rocker panel. But other than that, it pretty much goes the same way. And same thing, I like just using the tape to keep it clean. All right. I got the caulk gun kind of at an angle, trying to push the stuff between the panels. You can't always force it, but you get the idea. We're going to put a nice little pass here. And I'm going to use this to fill in, hopefully, this whole void here. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'll go ahead and try to get this one here too. Now the weird thing about these cars is this rocker panel is a gutter system for the water drain. So any water that gets into the rocker panel from the windows or through the cowling goes through the rocker panel, which blows my mind. At halftime, those cars are bare steel in the middle of that. So I wonder why these cars rusted out. So that was, I guess, that way of assuring that the car would be damaged in 5 years and you'd have to replace it. So I'm not saying it was a bad idea, but they could have made these things a little better. There we go. That ought to work. And that is how you seam seal the rocker panel the VVG way. All right, we'll get into the doors here. It's the same kind of a seam all the way around, but I'll show you on the back edge here. Similar. I'm going to tuck it up in the corner here, and just a really thin bead. We'll go ahead and let it kind of spread out just a little bit on this, though. The door, I feel, has a little more flex, so just only in that seam may not be quite enough, but as you can tell, very minimal amount going on here, but we're going to smear it out. Hopefully, get it laid out pretty nice here. You need to do all three sides of the door the same way. You can tell it was a very thin bead that I put on there. And it goes, little goes a long way, I guess you could say. Okay. Now do the same there to the bottom and that leading edge the same. Hey, so there you have it, the VVG way of doing some seam sealing on your old car. Pretty much all vehicles work out the same. Any kind of an opening or a gap between panels is going to allow moisture to get in and then cause, obviously, rust. And if it's on an area like a door jamb or the outside of the quarter panel there, it's going to cause stains or some issues. And that's the reason I worry about seam sealing on the outside of the car. Other than that, I leave a lot of the factory on, like stuff the factory did. I don't put it back into place. Now, around the wheel wells, I'll do it because I don't want water coming into the car while driving in the rain. But other than that, I don't get too carried away with this stuff. That's just my opinion. Do what you want with that information. And not to mention, I'm kind of cheap. I don't like to waste the money, so why buy it, right? No, that's just the cheap side of me coming out. Now, what we're going to get into next now, we're going to get this car all taped off. We're going to paint the door openings. And we're going to do this, if you guys have been following, on a plan of not having any visible or no tape lines as possible, because I just don't like the looks of them. There's a few problems with tape lines. One, they're unsightly, and two, it actually gives a place for the paint to start peeling. It's an edge, or potentially the paint doesn't adhere, and you're going to have possible lifting. So there's multiple reasons why I don't like tape lines. So what we're going to do next, so we'll get these doors painted, the whole inside door shell painted, including these hinges. I'm going to reattach them to the car with a plan of not having any tape lines on the door jamb opening here on the rear. So you don't want to miss that. So stay tuned, subscribe, share with your friends, and thank you everybody for the 5,000 subscriber mark, because I'm sure we're going to be there by the time this video hits, and I can't thank you guys enough. It's been fun. It's been real. So what's our next goal? I have no idea, but now that's about 2 years, 5,000 subscribers and growing. I guess we'll keep plugging away and see how big this thing can possibly get. So anyway, next go around, doing some painting. I hope that's the plan. So I hope you guys have appreciated what we've gotten done to this point. Going to finally do some painting on this thing, see some of the beautiful autumn bronze hanging out on the car. So hope to see you guys then. We'll grab the camera and we'll get this thing taken care of.